Good afternoon. I'm not coming to talk about the broker or what do we offer here at OnePro. I'm coming to give you some personal advice on what to do in the markets itself. Because let's be honest, most of us here are Forex traders. Am I right? Anyone traded Forex before? I believe we are all interested in Forex trading. So today I'm coming to give you some advice on what to do, especially on the oil trading. Starting with a very important question. A lot of traders usually ask whether should we use the fundamental analysis or technical analysis. There is a very common misconception that the fundamental analysis basically means that we only trade on news. You open the economic agenda, whether you use investing.com or Forex Factory or whatever it is, you wait for the numbers, CPI, maybe PPI or whatever it is, retail sales. You have a lot of releases on the economic agenda and you just trade on them. Basically, this is not fundamental analysis. It's only a very tiny part of what fundamental analysis is. Fundamental analysis basically means that you should understand the major economic factors influencing the price on the chart that you're trading. So if we're talking about the oil price, you can have the crude oil inventories, for example, which is a weekly number. Yes, it affects oil prices. However, this is not all what it takes to trade oil successfully or profitably. So you must understand the dynamics of the market behind the prices on your chart. What factors actually influence the prices of oil that you're seeing on the chart? This is what basically fundamental analysis means. Fundamental analysis is really essential for you to understand the major picture and the overall trend that's happening in front of you. So say, for example, the US dollar. The US dollar has been trending higher for quite some time now. Why is that? Simply because the Federal Reserve is raising interest rates. So this is the fundamental picture, and this is the reason why the US dollar has been trading higher. Then, after understanding the fundamental part, you can then use the technical analysis to understand and to pick better entries and exits for your trades. This is how you should trade successfully, using both technical and fundamental analysis. The negotiations between traders, whether to use this or that, I see it as only time-consuming and it gets you nowhere. So today I'll be with you. My name is Mohannad Yaoud and I'm the Global Head of Market Research at OnePro. I'm a certified financial technician as well as a chartered market technician of level 2. How to trade oil with the continued geopolitical tensions. Today, what we're going to do is we will be having an overall outlook on the oil market, what's happening behind the scenes, while oil has been having a lot of volatility during the past maybe a couple of months. And we will also mention some misconceptions about the oil market and the Russian invasion into Ukraine, as well as by the end of the session, we will have a technical outlook using Elliott wave analysis on the price chart so we can trade the next trend in the oil prices. Let's start by having a recent look on the price history, because if you want to understand what prices will do, you must analyze and have a look on what prices have done in the history. So this is basically a price history for the US crude oil specifically since 2002. You can see here that this major move to the downside, this is a monthly chart by the way, so it shows you 6 candles on the monthly time frame, 6 months of a decline from $140 per barrel reaching to $40 per barrel on the US crude oil. This was basically the global financial crisis in 2008. So basically, when you check a chart, you must understand the fundamentals behind what is happening here so you can expect the next move. So this is something that you should note, the global financial crisis and the move down from $140 to $40 per barrel. Please have a look also on this move. This move was basically 2015. What happened in 2015? It wasn't any price resistance. It wasn't any technical reason. This was basically a huge gap and imbalance between the supply and demand in the oil market. If you can read about what happened in the crisis of 2015 in the oil markets, you will know that this was basically a very fundamental reason for this move to happen. It basically went down from roughly $110 back again to $30 per barrel. So fundamentals basically have a very key impact on the oil markets, and that's why we are discussing it today. Recently, I believe most of us witnessed this downward move that started by the beginning of 2020 from $60 per barrel back to zero. And in some future contracts, basically, oil was trading for a negative $35 per contract. If you can remember this, this happened on May of 2020 when all of the industries were shut down, COVID hit in, and so on. So people were just, there was zero demand literally on oil, and that's why you had this downward move. What happened after that was basically the economy started to rebound. People started increasing again the demand on the oil, and hence we started this upward trend. So this was basically a clear upward trend because economies are again opening after the COVID-19, and that's why we're having this up to $130 per barrel. And of course here happened the Russian invasion into Ukraine, which supported even the prices even higher. Let's talk a little bit about Europe's energy crisis. We hear about this a lot of times on the news. What's happening in Europe? Basically, Europe is facing a crisis when it comes to energy. And another misconception that I would like to clear it up for you today is that Russia's invasion into Ukraine wasn't the key factor for what's happening in Europe. And we will know why, and we'll check this on the charts. What happened in Europe basically started in 2020, and even a little before that. 2018 was the year Europe started accumulating fundamental reasons for this crisis that they are facing regarding the energy markets. So basically, the European Union is facing an unprecedented energy crisis and is seeking ways to curb the soaring prices, and we will have a look on the prices in a moment. Natural gas prices have been surging in Europe as demand increases globally, and this is basically something that you should note. Demand increases globally. This was basically the reason that energy prices started going higher in Europe, and we will check that also in a moment. Please have a look on this chart, and this chart is from Eurostat, and they are the basic or the main entity for any statistics from the Eurozone. If you can see here what's going on with some countries in the Eurozone, this is the inflation regarding energy prices. It's not inflation regarding food or any other products or services, it's only inflation on energy prices. Can you see those countries? I've already removed a lot of other European countries, and I've highlighted the key ones. You can see here that Netherlands, for example, this one. Can you see how much energy has been inflating in Netherlands only in 1 year? It's a record 110%, which means that if you're living in Netherlands, let's say, for example, you have been paying 500 euros for your electricity bill last year, basically this year, after only 12 months, you'll be paying exactly the double, 1,000 euros for your electricity bill. This is why, and this is how prices inflated in Netherlands. We can see Belgium, a little more than 65%, Greece, Italy, Germany, Cyprus, Finland, Slovakia, and France. Those are the record high countries in Europe. And the overall European Union is facing inflation in energy prices of 41%. This is something that never happened in Europe in all time. This is the misconception that I'd like to clear for you today, that the Russian invasion is not the primary reason for higher energy prices in Europe. Why is that? If you have a look on this chart, those are basically the energy prices. This includes gas, liquid fuels, energy, and electricity. Prices were going a little bit to the downside before they started this upward trend. Can you notice with me, when did the upward trend in energy prices start in Europe? It wasn't 2022 when Russia invaded Ukraine. However, it was here, 2020. So Russian invasion into Ukraine was one last reason for prices to go crazy and to go even higher. However, it wasn't the only reason why prices were going higher. It basically started in 2021. Why is that? Let's have a look on the actual prices, why natural gas prices are rising in Europe. higher demand due to a global economic rebound as countries lift COVID-19 restrictions. What happened in 2020, by beginning 2020, when COVID-19 hit in, all of the economies were immediately shut down. All of the factories, industries, workshops, people were all staying at home and so on. So this completely diminished any demand on oil prices. After the countries started again reopening, demand recovered well to maybe previous than COVID-19 levels. So we had higher demand starting 2022, as you can remember on the chart, when the economies were reopened again, this started pushing prices higher. This was basically a reason for demand to go higher. There were another reasons why supply went lower. Let me tell you why. During COVID-19, European countries basically had lower investments in fossil fuels, lower investment in the oil industry as overall, and the less maintenance of oil and gas fields during the COVID-19 crisis and less investment. This was a reason leading to lower domestic production. So you have basically two sides of the same coin. Higher prices due to higher demand and lower supply. That was the reason that started this surge in energy prices back in 2020. Another reason, this is basically a secondary reason, but it's very vital. Netherlands, which is Europe's largest domestic producer from oil, basically started phasing out a gas field called Groningen. This is basically the largest, or used to be the largest gas field in Europe. They started phasing out all of the production from this gas field for a simple reason, which was environmental factors. They noticed that whenever we extract natural gas from Groningen, basically we have some earthquakes happening in the neighborhood and so on. So they started to phase out completely this gas field, and this also affected supply. So lower supply and higher demand basically led to this crisis happening in Europe. The last reason that added, it was like the cherry on top of the cake, was basically Russian invasion into Ukraine. And we started seeing that Russia has cut out volumes exported to Ukraine and to all of Europe after the invasion. So that was the last reason, built on top of many, many reasons before, that led to this crisis happening. I'll tell you a third misconception for today. People really believe that Russia started cutting out gas exports to Europe by Russian invasion by the beginning of 2022. This is completely inaccurate. If you can see this chart, which was basically showing the Russian natural gas flow into the European Union, this starts on 2019. Here, January 2019. You can see that from 3 years, Russia has been gradually cutting natural gas exports to the European Union, and this downward trend was basically clear on the chart. However, only after Russia invaded Ukraine, you can see well how this downtrend started to accelerate a little bit. However, this doesn't deny the fact that Russia was already cutting out exports gradually since 2019, affecting supply. Lower supply by time, and after COVID, higher demand kicked in, leading to this crisis happening in Europe. Let's have a time for technical analysis. Does anyone here trade with technical analysis? How many of you trade with technical? Only one? 2, 3, 10, okay. Now people are not shy to say this. Anyone here is an elitician? Anyone a fan of elite waves? Only one? Okay, 2. We have a few eliticians here. Okay, so let's have a look on the crude oil chart using the elite wave analysis. Basically, I've started the elite wave counting since 2020, specifically when prices reached the level of 0. And on the spot contracts, it was trading around $11. After then, we started having this great trend to the upside. You can see here, this is a great motive wave. People who actually trade with elite waves will get the point of a motive wave. So it swung 2, 3, 4, 5 for wave 1. That was the first impulsive wave. We had the correction as a flat ABC for wave 2, and we continued the move to the upside. Basically, wave 3 and 4, or wave 4 and 5 here is not so clear because this is a daily time frame. However, it will be available on lower time frames. Since this was basically the Russian invasion into Ukraine, the spike of wave 3 and 5 was basically when prices pushed higher to $130 per barrel, and we started the correction since then. The correction is a normal ABC, and we do expect, personally, it's upon my personal opinion, I believe that this correction to the downside using Elliott wave has ended using an ABC, because the time span and the price span for the correction to me is convincing. I believe this is enough correction on the oil prices, and we might see another impulse wave to the upside, a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This chart will be more clear. This is the same chart, however, just zoomed in. So it's an ABC. I believe this is the end of the correction. Let's start another move higher of an impulse wave. So that was all for Elliott wave analysis. I believe prices it's currently trading around $85. And I do expect it will go higher, back to $110 and $120 per barrel. During the next period, we do expect a couple of fundamental factors that time didn't allow me to mention, which of course includes the cap on gas prices. And this might affect the gas prices. So if you're gonna actually trade on US crude oil especially, you should stick to a very decent risk management strategy, because you can be 10 times wrong out of 100. However, you can still make profits in the market if you stick to a sound risk management strategy. That was all for today's session. Thank you so much. Okay, I believe we have 1 minute for questions. Do we? Yeah, maybe. If anyone has a question, maybe. Okay, there is no mic in there in the hall, so you can find me at booths 14 and 17 for OnePro. I'll be more than happy to meet you in person and answer all of your questions, if any. Thank you so much.